we're still stunned by cases like the one we're bringing you tonight. We begin with a case out of West Virginia. Gene Whitefeather and Donald Lance, a white couple, are accused of treating their 5 adopted children like slaves.
You heard them. You heard them. These two are accused of treating their children, their black children that they adopted. They're treating their black adopted children like slaves. Now, I'm gonna play I'm playing this whole video. The commentary in the whole video give you whole context of why they need a foot knee deep in their asses. Like knee deep, like I'm talking about she need her ass whooped, her mama need her ass whooped, her grandma need her ass whooped, her great grandma need her ass whooped, her great grandma need her ass whooped. Same thing for his. He need. You see that? You see this part? You see this part of his? Slap him from here to here. Like I'm talking about, put a foot from here to here. Both of these need foot in ass. I'm talking about foot in ass for both of these people. I'm telling you, this pissed me off. I ain't gonna lie.
We know for sure 3 are black, according to the indictment. Prosecutors say the children were also targeted and adopted because of their race. The pair was arrested last fall. This was after
targeted and adopted because of their race.
Wellness check turned into a reveal about the living conditions of the children. 2 of the children, 14 and 16 years old, were found living in a barn outside. Neighbors tipped law enforcement off. Deputies discovered there were limited resources in that barn.
They got the black children living in barns, literally living like chattel. Literally living like chattel. They got the black kids literally living like chattel up in here. And it get worse. It get worse. It gets worse. Once you work till you find out how they got these kids.
The teens only had a small porta potty, no running water, or a mattress. According to neighbors, the children were not allowed inside of the home, the main house, and had to do farm labor outside instead. Whitefeather denies the allegations and says the barn was simply a teenage clubhouse.
So you got kids living in a quote unquote clubhouse. Because they're living the total condition of the children is just, I can't even get the word. It's effed up. It's effed up. Deplorable. Effed up. The children in living conditions. Wait till they explain what they're doing. But so this couple is saying that this barn that the children were actually living in is a clubhouse. But listen, because keep listening as they explain this stuff, because they literally, we don't even know how they acquired these kids, if they acquired these kids even legally, but they targeted these black kids, acquired these black kids, and made these black kids work. And their living conditions were inhumane. They were literally living in like slave, like literal slave-like conditions, literal slave conditions. He need his ass whooped.
Both Whitefeather and Lance are now behind bars as they wait for a trial to begin September 9th. Joining us to talk about it,
I hope he in jail getting his ass whooped.
Here on The Factor Uncensored, we have with us parent David Settles, Todd Smith, the CEO of Regal Media, and trauma therapist Chow Nguyen. Glad to have you all on The Factor Uncensored. So, David, first of all, as a parent, hearing this story, and we have learned that the judge admonished them in court.
Look at David Socks.
In another hearing saying, I have never in my life seen anything like this. Your bond was $200,000, come back. It is now $500,000 each.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the judge did the right thing by increasing the bond, but as a parent, absolutely.
It shouldn't be no bond. You can't get out. Judge Joseph said you can't get out. You never getting out. Get comfortable.
It's downright deplorable, right? It's not even just disgusting, but it's purely evil at this point, right? And but to go back to the point about them raising the bond, you know, people have been talking about the foster care system and adoption regulations and things like that. Chances are there wasn't an adoption agency or any foster care system involved in this case because they raised the bond with allegations of like human trafficking.
Allegations of human trafficking because nobody's sure how they got these kids and if they got these kids in a legal manner. Allegations of human trafficking with the black kids that they quote unquote adopted. And y'all say we're in a post-racial America. The second story today to show that we're not in this post-racial America that y'all keep trying to convince us that we.
So we don't even know how these kids ended up in their care in the first place.
We do know they were adopted or they received their custody in Washington State and then moved to West Virginia. Were people wise? Were people getting concerned about what they saw in Washington and that's why they moved to West Virginia? That's a question we still have to explore.
Two things come to mind. The child welfare system, which is an institution that really needs some serious reform. There was talk about defunding the CPS and foster care system. It's not there to protect the children in cases like this. That's a whole other issue. The institutions that are meant to support children can sometimes hurt them. And the other thing I think about is the trauma that's instilled on these kids for a lifetime. We talk about something called adverse childhood experiences, neglect, abuse, poverty, you know, unhealthy sanitary conditions, poor parenting. Those are things that can affect those children for a lifetime, that can create PTSD, anxiety, depression, poor relationships, poor jobs, crime. Those are very serious outcomes for those children.
And Todd, we've heard that the 16-year-old boy in this case reeked and had sores on his feet. It was so bad.
Remember, listen to what he just said. Listen to what he just said about the 16-year-old boy. Listen to what he just, I'm gonna let him say it again.
Crime, those are very serious outcomes for those children.
And Todd, we've heard that the 16-year-old boy in this case reeked and had sores on his feet.
And he was in the barn. He was in the clubhouse. He lived in the clubhouse. Remember, he was in the barn. The 16-year-old was in the barn, aka the clubhouse, the fun house, according to the slave masters.
It was so bad the neighbors could smell it.
The boy smelled so bad, and the barn smelled so bad, the clubhouse smelled so bad that the neighbors could smell it. But it's a fun house. It's a clubhouse. Who needs their ass whooped? I know two people that need their ass whooped. I do. I know two people that need to be thrown under the jail. And whatever happens to them when they get in the, hey, you know. But I know two people who need their ass whooped. I tell you that.
It just, if you look at the images, it looked like an old school plantation. The shed, the barn looked like a slave shack. It's just, like David said, it's just evil. And to think in 2024, you still have people who see black people and children at that as property. You know, they're just used for their own purposes and stuff like that. The only way to describe it is evil. This is for the first time in my being on this show, I'm just flabbergasted. I have really nothing to say about how this is, but this is why.
I know what to say. They need their ass whooped. How are they able to get these kids and do this to these children? To the point to where the children smell so bad and their condition smells so bad, it's stinking up the community. Inhumane conditions. Are they going to the bathroom on themselves? Who does this to children? I tell you who do this to children. Evil subhuman beings. Evil subhuman people. Bitch ass people. People who don't see us as human beings because they sought these children out. They looked for these kids. They went to go look for the little black kids to put to work for them. In this modern time, they looked for their slaves. They used the child welfare system to go find their slaves. Yeah.
We should take racism seriously. This is why when people talk about certain things, we should listen to them, because it's so easy to fall back into the trap of yesteryear when things happen that were this atrocious. You know what I mean? People would do evil things to people, to innocent people. So we have to really be careful about, you know, the race relations in this country and stuff like that, and so we won't fall back into that trap again.
And of course, we heard from the judge and prosecutors that these kids were targeted because of their race. This is why those parents went after them.
So that's why we need to take a serious look at the child welfare system. We don't know what happened to these kids, but did you know that only 15% of all cases in which children are taken away from their parents involve physical violence? A lot of them involve neglect. We're talking about maybe there's not enough food at the table, maybe they weren't clothed properly, maybe mom or dad had an addiction problem, things that stem from trauma. If we can address keeping families together and address things like poverty and prosperity and economic prosperity, maybe we can keep families together so we don't see these situations. Something has to seriously be done about that institution.
And we're hearing that they also sold a $700,000 ranch and a $200,000 house, I think,
the house
as well.
That they were in.
And many prosecutors are questioning how they were able to get that money, whether those kids played a role in forced labor to pay for.
We know they did. It ain't no secret. We know the kids were the source of labor that allowed them to get that money. Man, we look. I don't even care if I'm wrong. That's my conclusion. They used the kids. Why else do they have them living out in the barns, working the way they work, smelling the way they smell, with the sores on them, in the living conditions that they're in? They work their personal mules. They turned black children into mules. They need their ass whooped. Our children are not safe. So in the last story, Buddy talking about, it's amazing. We live in a world where we don't feel safe. Well, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Our children, black children, are not safe. Just like in the video me, PC, and Pat put out yesterday, talking about the black man political agenda, right? Black men, we are needed. Black masculinity is needed because our children, as well as our women and ourselves, none of us are safe. But we got to save ourselves so we can save our community. And if we want to save our future, we got to save our kids.
Those things.
I mean, we don't know, but it would seem so. Like they had no source of income that the judge knew about. So how are you making this type of money?
You know how they making the money. If you ain't got no real source of income and you got all these kids in these conditions and all this stuff here, the kids were the source of the labor.
Enslaving people. You know, they're trafficking kids. You know, they think it's 1824, not 2024. And like Chow said, we have to start at the root and fix some of the problems that people are having that lead to this situation, because there's no child that should be, these kids are going to be traumatized for life. And the excuses that they use, oh, it was a clubhouse.
The root is white supremacy.
I was a teenager. I didn't want nothing to do with a clubhouse. I wanted to hang out with my friends and do normal things. That's elementary stuff. And the fact that the cops had to pry the door open. If that's a clubhouse, why can't they come and go?
Right.
I'm just saying. The brother got a point. When the brother got a point, the brother got a point. The clubhouse, which is the spot to be, the police had to pry the door open to get in to save the children. Had to break the door down to get in to save the kids. But the clubhouse is the spot to be. Fuck out of here.
I have friends that have clubhouses for their children. They can come and go as they please. So all of that is nonsense. They are enslaving people. And I've mentioned this before on this show. People think slavery ended in 1865 through convict leasing and other things. Black people have always had to deal with the possibility of being enslaved again. And now in 2024, we have kids having to go through things that my ancestors went through, and it's horrifying.
Last 30 seconds.
14% of this country is the black population, yet 25% of all kids in the child welfare system are black. There's a serious racism problem in the foster care and the child welfare system.
All right, we want to thank you.
Hey, man, look here. It's right in your face. It's right in your face, right? Our children are not safe. What are we going to do to make sure we are better black people to keep our children safe? If for nothing else, if we don't do it for nothing else, we do it to keep our children safe, to ensure that we actually do have a future in this country or anywhere else. What are we going to do? Black children were literally, I don't know how they got them kids, but they got them kids. Two clear racist, white supremacists acquired black children and enslaved those black children, put them to work, and had them living in inhumane conditions, to the point to where the barn, aka the clubhouse, aka the spot, was so bad, the conditions were so bad that it smelled throughout the community, throughout the neighborhood. When they found the children were messed up, malnourished, sores on them, reeking. The man said the 16-year-old reeked. I mean, he probably, when's the last time he was clean? The trauma that these children have suffered. Just think about it. The trauma that these kids have suffered is immense. The type of therapy that they're gonna have to go through to get over this, right? What do we do?